Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lorie Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. So today we're going to talk about AI trends. What does AI stand for? Sara.
Artificial intelligence. Ooh.
Good job. Which is what?
Intelligence that is artificial.
Oh. So not by humans?
Correct.
No humans involved? So what do you all
Correct.
think about this? Like, you know, the chat GPTs and all the other stuff that's out there. Like what, believe it or not, I actually have seen the legal profession on top of this. And so of all the like continuing legal education things that I've taken just in the last 6-9 months, they talk about a lot of different ones. I mean, I guess chat GPT has become the Kleenex and Xerox of AI. But what else is out there? Have you all used anything else?
I mean, there's like Gemini now. They've got like...
Is that the Google one?
Know. Yeah.
Yeah. It used to
what
be
are
like
the ones like for
Cortana.
Pictures that they'll do?
Oh, the art ones? I don't like
You
those.
can use ChatGPT for that, Recraft AI, but there's a lot of different, even individual apps that are now integrating AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you all think of this? I mean, it's not going away. It's only going to continue to advance.
It's...
I mean, in general, like not specific to what we've encountered. We'll get to that. But in your lives, if you have any outside of Burch Law.
I like it.
In my personal life?
But I think it's like, I think somebody should have put limits on it before they just launched it into the world. So it's like, I like it a lot when it's useful.
Yeah.
But also scary.
Yeah, in my personal life, I avoid it. I turn off all the options for AI on like different apps and stuff. For work, I'll use like ChatGPT if I need help getting started on something, but then I just use that as like very rudimentary drawing board and edit what it gives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've found that when we use it, and we'll talk more about this in a moment, but when we use it, we'll get the best stuff when we put in more of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's really more like, hey, take this and summarize it this way, or write it up this way. Or we want to create for example, probate handbook, and make sure you address this type of probate, this type of probate, this type of probate. Make sure you mention this, make sure you mention that, make sure there's this, make sure there's that. And the more parameters you put around it, the more useful of a product you get out of it.
Yeah, typically feeding it more information, the better.
I don't like it.
Oh, really?
No,
okay.
Why not?
Mima.
I mean, it's stealing from people, specifically artists, like for pictures. Like it's using people's art that they've worked hours and hours and hours upon and stealing it, not giving permission. They're not getting paid for it. Like it's so like that especially is very, I don't like it. It's made me hate AI just like as a whole, honestly. But
Yeah.
I feel like there is good uses for it, but it's very obvious it's making people, I don't want to say lazy because I hate the word lazy, but it's making people not develop skills that they should be developing. They're using it to write essays or books or like whatever. Like it's when me and Sara were searching for our little funny part, there was like a screenwriter who wrote a whole AI play or like a movie in AI, and it's like that's just so icky to me. I don't like it.
But is it any good?
No, they scrapped it because people didn't like that he was using AI.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
when
other
you
piece of
write
it.
things that are totally boring, dry, and monotonous, like legal documents,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have as much feelings about the creativity. Although
Yeah,
I will tell you,
that's
I
fair.
think Sara will somewhat back me up on this, if not completely, because you know she does work for me, at least in one small marketing area of Google, not really any of the other marketing
Right. Yeah.
endeavors. That's it. That's
No.
all she oversees. Just kidding. But we will tap into some of that when it comes to some of our marketing messages. And one, why does Chat GPT love emojis so much? That is a question that I have.
Yeah.
That is interesting. And we've gotten some things from people. We actually had a client who sent us an email that referred to things that didn't make any sense in the context of what we were doing. And so I ran it through one of the AI filters and it came up as 100% AI.
That's another piece with it. It
Yeah.
just it takes information from everywhere. And if you're trying to present something to somebody, like, I know you don't know those words. What are you doing? I know you don't
Yeah.
know how to define these words.
Yeah. No. So I think it's super cool. I think it's not going away. But let's before we let Sara and Sam take us off the rails, let's talk a little bit about how we're seeing this in the legal practice. And so, again, I think from some marketing standpoint, also some messaging to clients and everything. And sometimes it's just therapeutic because we'll say respond to a client who thinks that our fees should be much lower than what they should be and be really snarky and condescending. And then it'll come up with something that's so fantastic that we would never in a million years send to our worst client. But we all get giggles about it and kind of work through it. And it's very cathartic, like I said. So, but when it comes to and we talk a lot about the DIY stuff, and one of the reasons we talk so much about the DIY is because I think the advent of AI over the last year or two in particular has really compounded the misperception that people have that they can take legal planning into their own hands. And just like anything, it's a mixed bag. And in fact, we'll go through this at some point. I went ahead and I used one of these platforms to draft a will. And and even in there, it says, hey, you know what? Consult an attorney to review and finalize this to ensure it complies with Texas law and adequately protects your family's interests. And it's like, no, duh. But I'm going to go through just to give a real live example of if you're a layperson, meaning you're not an attorney, a licensed attorney, and you just went and said, hey, I need a will. I want everything to go here. I want this, that, and the other. Just doing it really basically, I mean, a really simple situation. I mean, definitely refer to the downfalls of the DIY stuff, but just from an AI standpoint, I was going to go through and really demonstrate what some of the biggest mistakes in here are. And what does that really ultimately mean? It means it's going to take more time and more money in the end, which my presumption when people go about doing things like this is they think it saves time and money. And it saves time and money in creating something. But if the goal is to provide something that's going to make things easier, not leave a mess, all the different things that we hear, this isn't going to do it. So, what my position is, and I think I'm fairly older than the other people in the firm. I think I can say this at least in my lifetime that the robots will not replace us. We're not there yet. We're not Skynet Terminator level yet. We could get there. I don't think I'll see it. I don't think Sara, Sam, or Cyntia will see it. Maybe my children will. But I don't think we're there yet. There's a lot of things that it really does, that it's a huge mistake that really just kind of backfires on people. So I'm going to go through this will, but I feel like you all actually did some research on this. What are some other legal pitfalls, specifically legal, because then we'll get to the ridiculous stuff. Um, I'm sure at some point. But what are some of the legal pitfalls that you guys were seeing?
Well, I know that a big one that we mentioned was there's a lack of data privacy. So pretty much everything you talk about and upload into ChatGPT is then used in everything else. So sensitive data is just out in the open.
And I know that Cyntia wants to discuss this, but before she does, this is, I don't know if people truly appreciate the really strict ethics rules that attorneys and law firms have around confidentiality. And so much so that it becomes difficult for us. For example, when we have a client and they now have diminished capacity and they're not able to communicate with us, and their family members are contacting us saying they need to change their will, this, that, and the other, and we really can't talk to that family member. So that's how extreme it is. We really, whoever has hired us, whoever our client is, we owe such an extreme duty of confidentiality, safety, privacy. And the flip side is, if we don't protect that, there's very egregious ramifications for us. And when it comes to this, and even when it comes to these online sites where you can create legal documents, they don't have any confidentiality requirements or accountability to you. But Cyntia, I think you had something that you felt very passionate about in this regard.
Yeah, Sarah kind of took part of it with the lack of privacy. So, whenever a lot of the AI things started being more prevalent with a lot of the programs that we use, um, having it be an integrated feature, I've actually reached out to our IT company that handles like all the security stuff, and talking to them and talking with some other people that just in my life that I know that are in the tech field. It's essentially you are taking all the information everywhere. It's being fed into this little black box. It does something in there and then it spits it out. So any piece of information that it spits out can be from anywhere. It can be from somebody doing a blog post about their experience with, let's, for example, we do probate with probate, and saying, well, this is how it worked. This is what happened to me. And it can take that information as, oh, hey, this is what happens. Let's add this in the middle of this other blog, maybe posted by an accredited law firm, somebody who actually has gone to law school, passed the bar, and is actually like knows what they're talking about. It can merge the two. It can give you information that is somebody else's experience to a T, but it just makes it generic enough. It is a way that you can just, it's dangerous in the sense that so much wrong information can be disseminated, information can be taken from people and redistributed as the work of somebody else. There's just so much that is unknown of how it actually works. It's just one of those things that if you're going to use it for, we're doing an all day team training. I'm using it to make a picture. It's a little felt gnome. Like that is something that's like, great. I don't got the artistic skills for that. Let me pull that up.
Don't you wish you worked here?
But as far as the other stuff, like really actually important things that we do, I would never do it for that. Like that's just be very careful with the information you're putting out there and also where you're getting your information.
I think for the legal industry too, that there's a misperception, and I think that there's a misperception even among some lawyers, and that is that our job is to be document generators, or to take whatever a client tells us and then to put that into words, which why would they need an attorney for that now? They can go somewhere else. And really, that's not the job at all. That's not the duty, in fact, of what a law firm or a licensed attorney is supposed to be. It's supposed to be able to advise you and guide you and then advocate for you, even if you make really poor decisions. But it's to help you facilitate that in a legally sound way. And so I can't conceive in my feeble Gen X mind how that will ever go away. If anything, this even document production. I mean, we have something really cool that I don't actually know any other law firms that do this, where we have a customized application where either we or a client can fill out some customized questions that we've developed. And those questions each map to customized templates and build documents for us. I mean, we have our own Burch Law exclusive way of doing that. But all of that is still looked at. I mean, all of that originally was created, well, I mean, by me, actually. So all of that language that's in there, all the templates, all the configuration, all of you say this, it enters that, was created by humans. But then we also review it for accuracy. And even in developing this, and we're on our 2.0 version of it, uh, there are so many things that we know get lost in translation that there's no reason that, at least to the degree of programming that we have, which is really incredible, that's able to assess some of those things. And so we use it as a way to not have our time be taken up um, by even some drafting from the technical stuff, that our time really is the value to the client of being able to communicate with them, advise them, and then reviewing those things. So, I mean, I love all of these types of programs and so forth, um, for us as a way to help facilitate things for our clients, but it doesn't take away really the time, value, and expertise that's needed to put this together. For example, to actually look. So we've had clients that have um, gone to AI sources, Chat GPT, whatnot, and attempted to draft legal documents. And it's just a mess. And they're like, hey, can you review this and then help us get it signed? Which, nothing's valid unless it's signed properly. So that's something that, if you ever listen to any episode, you probably hear us talk about that it's only as good as how well it's signed with the formalities the law requires. But even from a substantive standpoint, I'm looking at, a will for, look, you're married and you've got 3 kids. And I specifically put in the ages, I put in the ages of 2, 6, and 20. And I did that in particular because I wanted to have some children under 18. And it does put in guardianship, but it actually gives everything, if both myself and my spouse pass away, everything equally to the kids, but the kids are underage, and you can't inherit money and assets outright if you're underage. It has to then go into a trust, and then you have to appoint a trustee to oversee that. And then you have to determine at what age or ages you feel like they're old enough to be able to make financial decisions on their own. None of that is in here. So if someone who thinks that they've got a really simple, that's my favorite, air quote, simple situation, and they drafted something like this, for a moment, we'll pretend you got it signed correctly, you'd end up right back in court. It would take thousands and thousands of dollars to sort this out. Money, your inheritance, bank account, home, whatever, is going to go in the court registry. And then at age 18, the kids would inherit this because there's nothing else that provides any sort of parameters around that. It doesn't waive bond for your executor, which in most states that's required. So that would be an issue. It doesn't allow something, and I specifically put in here for Texas. It doesn't put anything about an executor acting independently, which is one of the gold standards that Texas has, that used to make things a little bit easier in Texas, but hasn't in the most recent years. But it's something unique to Texas, I should say. Not all states have this ability where an executor can act independently of the court, which, at least for purposes of this episode, just know that makes things happen more quickly and less expensively when an executor can function independently. Doesn't have any language like that. doesn't mention any sort of requirements for who the witnesses should be. And then my favorite part, which I'll explain what this is, but this is more just for the fun of the Burch Law Team. It says self-proving affidavit optional. And it just says the state of Texas allows for a self-proving affidavit, which can be signed by the testator and witnesses before a notary public to simplify the probate process. This affidavit should be attached to the will and executed at the same time. So it just says it's optional. It doesn't give any language for what it should look like. So how you're supposed to draft that, I could probably put that in there and say, okay, then draft a self-proving affidavit. I don't know why, but Texas judges are really antsy about the language being very precise in a self-proving affidavit. I'll explain the significance of it in just a moment. But let me give you an example of something that I've seen. So in Texas, your witness has to be a disinterested party, so either not related to you or not named in your will, but they have to be at least 14 years of age. I've seen judges in Texas where the self-proving affidavit says we affirm that we're at least 18 years of age, and a judge has not accepted that because, well, that's not the rule in Texas. That doesn't substantially comply with the requirements for a self-proving affidavit. And what does a self-proving affidavit mean? It's not a requirement for a will. So it kind of got it right where it says optional, but this is the difference: is in Texas, a will does have to be witnessed twice. And when you die and your will has to go to probate court, one or both of those witnesses need to testify at that hearing and say, yeah, I remember Joe Blow signing their will. They were of sound mind, blah, 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 blah. So what a self-proving affidavit does, yes, optional, but best practice for sure, is it's a notarized pre-testimony of what these witnesses would have to say, meaning that if you have a validly signed, executed self-proving affidavit, if you die 20, 30, 40, 50 years after the date of signing your will, those witnesses, that notary, nobody has to be found. Just the executor shows up and is able to get that will admitted. So, I could probably parse through a lot of this. It doesn't have a lot of contingencies and this, that, and the other. But the point being is, why would anybody know that unless you work for an estate planning and probate law firm? And I say that because I could say unless you're an attorney, but I know plenty of attorneys that wouldn't know how to interpret this. Because if you gave me a divorce decree or something, I don't do that. I wouldn't be able to tell you what should or should not be in there. I could maybe get closer than the average person, but it's not what I do. At the same time, I'm the only licensed attorney in this podcast, but I'm telling you, all three of them, you may have heard their gasps, or if you're watching this, their looks of horror when I said that about the self-proving affidavit. So that's the point of when you're getting this done, is it's not a matter of finding any attorney even. It's making sure it's a law firm. There should be at least one attorney involved, but a law firm that focuses on this area, that knows the pitfalls and the ins and outs of what is supposed to go into this. And again, I could go on and on about other downsides of this, but I'm really just trying to zero in and focus on the AI component. But they're just things you wouldn't know. And when we've seen, I've mentioned this before, but it's just shocking to me, is when people try to do something beyond a will, like a living trust, where you're actually going to deed your home into it. And primarily a living trust is designed to avoid having to go through probate court. We've seen people who lose their homestead exemptions, which if you're not in Texas, you may not know what a big deal this is. But property taxes in Texas are pretty high. So that homestead exemption, or if you're over 65 or a veteran, like those exemptions are a really big deal. But there's no reason why a person who does not practice estate planning and probate law would have any idea to make sure that that language is in there. And in fact, there is language that we're having to update this year. And this is where, sometimes our clients who come back to us that want to update stuff, most of our clients are lovely human beings. They are understanding. They trust us. They follow us, which is the correct thing to do, frankly. But occasionally we'll have somebody who's like, well, why do I have to pay for updates? Isn't this just a cut and paste job? Isn't this just, and the fact of the matter is, no, it's not. We have homestead language now that has changed. So maybe if the language was correct at the time it was signed is good. But if you're updating it and signing it, then it needs to be updated in compliance with the law that exists on the day that you sign it. And so, again, our job is not to be document generators. Our job is to advise you and guide you. And we understand everybody wants this to be as cheap and as efficient as possible. And what I can promise you is that if you go to a qualified, experienced law firm, while it may not be as quick or as cheap as you want it now, they're going to make sure that when it matters, when your family is needing this, that's when you're going to see the value and the ROI of doing this, updating it, keeping it updated, is the value. And so again, when it comes to the AI trends that we're seeing, there's a lot of cool uses of this. There's a lot of ways to do it, but at least where it stands right now, there still needs to be experienced human eyes on this stuff to make sure that you're not running afoul or missing something, particularly in the legal world. Because until we have the self-checkout equivalent of probate, meaning there's no probate judges, it's going to be humans that are going to look at this at some point. And one thing, 99% of all probate matters in Texas, you have to hire an attorney. This is not an area where there's a lot of options where you can just represent yourself. So you're going to have to hire an attorney, and you're going to have to be in front of a judge that is a human being at some point. So the legal documents that you are presenting, the legal plan that you have, really needs to have been looked at, advised, and guided by real people. The robots are not quite ready yet. That is what I have to say about that. Other thoughts, contributions?
Agreed.
Sarah's got something. I sense it.
Yeah, the only other thing I mentioned, which kind of goes in hand with what Cyntia said, it's the bias in AI algorithms. So it's like they're just pulling from whatever source they can find. It's not necessarily true or factual. It's just going to be biased because they're pretty smart, but I mean, they were also built by humans. So it's just something to consider.
I think to expand on that, it's the application that we have built. It's information that we're giving it. We're directing a developer exactly where to put what. And with AI, it thinks it knows where to put things, and it just does.
Yeah.
And as much as I would love the people of Burch Law to not overthink and overthink and overthink, it is an example of where that actually is beneficial, because AI is not overthinking at all. Like it's not thinking, it's not reviewing, it's not double checking. It just regurgitates pieces of information that it's taking from all over. I mean, it's kind of a word salad, and sometimes the stuff that you see, like the email that we got from a client, it was kind of word salad.
It was.
Where it didn't make any sense with any of the terms that we've used, any of the scope of engagement that we had with the person, and
What we were
it's
doing
also
for them.
what we're it made no sense. So it's a mixed bag, but certainly, I mean, in a lot of different areas, and I know if there are a lot of different professions, they would probably say the same thing. But our lane, what we know, what we're talking about, and you don't, dear listeners, is the legal world when it comes to Texas laws on wills, trusts, and probate. And so this is important for people to understand. There are good uses. In fact, one of the fun things that we've had recently, it's interesting because I have always felt like when I started this practice, when it was just little old me, that it's really important to have a lot of communication and touch points with clients. And what we've been saying is that even the stuff that is, even the algorithms, they are, and even what Cyntia was saying, even our custom tool that we have for generating documents, it's all developed by humans. It's all programmed by humans. It's all like, so any of the automations that we have to communicate with people is still created by humans. I mean, mostly this human right here. Every email that goes out to a potential client or to a client was written by me. Um, they are all programmed by Sara as far as when should they receive them, how often they should receive them. I mean, one of the things we do when we're drafting is not a sponsor, but a website called I Buy Direct is where I get all my glasses now, because I will never spend $500 on prescription glasses ever again. This is such a cool site. You go in, you can pick lenses from like $6 to $100. And then when I first started doing it, I guess my eyesight was better because my lenses themselves were pretty inexpensive. But now I've got astigmatism, nearsighted, trifocal, all of this shit going on for me. So they've gotten a little bit pricier, but still you can get really, I mean, the ones I'm wearing are I Buy Direct. And when I first I mean, I've probably gotten 10 pairs of glasses over the last several years. And it was always a dream of mine. And now we've realized this at Burch Law is they'll send me an email that says, we received your order. And a couple days later, they'll say, okay, we've got your lenses and now they're moving into this phase. And then I'll get an email a few days later that says, we're now cutting the lenses. And then I'll get an email a few days later that says, we're now fitting the lenses with the frames and they're going to be shipped out in another few days. And I thought that was so cool. It's almost like, the car washes where you kind of watch it, like go through the process, you see what's going on. So we developed this, and I actually think, and this is, it's always the squeaky wheel, right? But I think like 95% of our clients really appreciate that. There is a very interesting 5% of our clients that are completely disturbed by that are baffled by it. They feel like it's impersonal. They feel like the messages are confusing, like, hey, we've got your drafts, we're working on them. Hey, just another few days and we're going to send the drafts. Hey, your drafts are going to be sent today. In anticipation of your drafts, here are some things to remember. So it's very interesting to me, some of the people that are a little caught off guard. And so all of this is leading up to this this story where I want it to feel personal to the clients. I really do, because again, it's people behind the scenes. Like, we've drafted it, we redraft it, we tweak it, we customize it, we program it. And so I decided very recently that rather than it say that the email is from Burch Law PLLC, which I feel it sounds a little unfamiliar, is that it should say it's from a person. But then there's so many of us that are touching this, like what would make sense? Like, what person would it be? I mean, if it's me, it's not just me that's sending out drafts and doing stuff. If it's Sam, then it's probably more at the signing piece. Is it the original? Like, there's just no way to really decide that. So, many of you know that our logo is a Pegasus, a red-winged horse. And we have, for those of you who've come to the office, and if you haven't, take a visit. By appointment only. However, we're not a nail salon. Don't just drop by. We don't do drop-ins. But we have this giant statue of a Pegasus.
I have to make appointments.
Yeah. We have a giant statue, and a very dear friend of mine who actually was responsible for picking this thing up, storing it in his garage for a month, and then helping me get it moved. So, really good friend. He named her Peggy. And at the time, I thought that was incredibly unoriginal, but all the work that he did personally to help me secure this item, I thought it would be an honor to him to keep naming it Peggy. And for some reason, that's taken on a life of its own, particularly Sara. I was looking at her website one day. I was looking at the team page, and suddenly Peggy appeared. So Peggy's on our website, not not approved by me, not discussed with me, just put there. So when we're thinking about, okay, whose name are these emails going to come from? I'm like, well, why don't we just do Peggy at Burch Law? So we changed it. So now our emails come from, unless it's being sent from one of us, but our general, whether they're marketing or like the updates on your drafts or something like that, they come from Peggy at Burch Law. I did not anticipate that people would contact us asking to speak with Peggy. And because I didn't anticipate this, the only way we found out that this could and would happen is our dear, lovely human being, Marcel, who is our legal receptionist.
He is a human being.
And someone asked for Peggy. He had no idea. He was like, who is Peggy?
Peggy.
So, and then we get, I mean, just on the regular, we get people who will respond to messages like, hey, Peggy, blah, 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 blah. So I've
those,
yet to,
though.
Yeah, I just say she's unavailable.
yeah.
Just give it Sarah.
We've also joked that Peggy's just going to be Sarah's alter ego. So if anybody calls for Peggy, just transfer them to Sarah, because nobody calls Sarah really for the most part. So
Yeah.
We can see
we'd like
Peggy.
to see what would happen.
Well, it's just
Yeah.
a wings.
Oh yeah, you
So-
can actually
can.
see if you're
Lorie,
watching this behind
I
Sam.
don't know if you know about. So whenever Sarah first started putting Peggy everywhere on the website, she was actually featured in a lot of our Instagram reels. There is a story of Peggy, and Peggy is actually trying to take over.
Yeah.
Peggy is trying to take over the law
Sarah
firm.
used to narrate a lot.
Yeah,
where
there
they
was
were
like a
from.
narration.
I don't even remember that. Whoa. I gotta
Yeah,
go
no,
look.
there was a whole story that Peggy was secretly studying things. Every now and then she would be peeking into my window in the middle of me having meetings, trying to learn what I was doing. It was a whole thing.
This is when Sarah had a lot more time on her hands.
Yeah,
and she was
I
still.
that is
miss
not the
those.
case.
Yeah.
That is not
Those
the case
TikToks are
anymore. She does
hilarious.
things more now.
It's before we trusted you with higher responsibilities,
Yeah.
like doing a whole podcast. Great. Yeah. So just so you know, if you're listening to this and you are a client, stay tuned, because I told Sarah, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I just have to write it. Is in the signature line, we're going to include a who is Peggy link so that people can know. And then it'll link to the story and video of why the Pegasus is our logo. But I've been toying with how Lorie I want to be about it, really, because part of me it kind of wants to go, I don't know, in the direction of, who is Peggy? Peggy is none of us, and yet all of us. Peggy is you, Peggy is me, Peggy is we. I don't know how people would react to that, but we also have a podcast called One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. So I think the cat is out of the bag about what some of our vibe is. But anyway, so speaking of AI and automations, again, there's always, I guess the takeaway here is there's still humans behind it.
Yeah.
And sometimes the intent of it doesn't always yield the results that you're looking for. But with that, before we wrap, I think, Sam, Sara, what have you prepared for us when it comes?
Hold on. A little tidbit for the listeners, though. If you come into the office to sign your documents, if you're a client, you should definitely ask to take a picture with Peggy and let us post it to our social media. There may be something in it for you.
There's no may, there is, in fact. And there's Sarah will write a song for you if you take a picture with Peggy.
Yeah.
But it'll probably be through Chat GPT.
It will be a brief song, and it will be off key.
I mean, there is like an AI platform where you can tell it to write a song, and it literally creates a song.
Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll start doing that.
Perform it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
You
Stay
could just
tuned.
do one of those voices from
my
Cat Cut that like sing.
One of those voices from what?
CapCut.
It's
It's
the
like a
editing
video editing
software.
software.
Oh. What will they think of next? Okay, Sarah and Sam, what did you have to contribute in addition to your many
Yeah.
contributions already?
So instead of going towards AI, we kind of went the opposite and have found some signs.
Pardon?
We found some signs that have some human error on them.
Well, this could
Yeah.
be automated error. It's basically it's
Sure.
mistakes, right?
Yes,
Right?
mistakes.
Is that
Yeah, yes,
mistakes?
spelling mistakes,
Listen,
essentially.
there's one that said it's pretty handwritten. It says cows, please close gate.
Oh, you took one of ours.
Oh, I'm sorry. Don't post links.
No.
Sarah
All
took
right,
one of my
just-
things earlier.
All right, if you're gonna do this,
It's gonna be
because
rapid fire. That was
Yeah.
our plan.
but make sure you're explaining it because there's no
Yeah.
visuals to this.
I mean, most of them you can tell what they were saying as you say them. But if it doesn't, we can explain it.
All right,
Do you want me to start?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, go
it's
Sam.
gonna go great.
Okay. Restroom out of odor.
Not our restroom.
Stop.
At your house?
No, I mean at the office.
Oh, I use
We
a
have
different
lots
floor
of bathroom.
restroom.
We have a lot of bathroom issues at the
Don't
office.
say
If you
it
come
that
visit
way.
us,
It's
if
not
you
us.
come
It's
visit
not
us,
us. It's not us.
well, it's not public restroom. If you come visit us to see Peggy, we just recommend that you do not use the bathroom on the 7th floor. At least
Go
the
to
ladies'
floor
room.
6. It's nice.
I know, I wasn't there.
I'd go higher.
really?
I'd go to
Floor
like
8 is
floor.
also pretty nice.
Well,
Yeah.
6 they have some nice hand lotions and nice soaps.
They do, yeah.
I can't go to floor 6. I actually used to office there, and I can't risk seeing some of the same people.
True.
You have damage. Okay.
I have history.
Okay. Sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the hydrant, and you're spelt wrong both times.
And also, it's from Highland Park Junior High, which I find is even makes it.
So it's not spelled incorrectly. It's grammatically incorrect because it's Y-O-U-R instead of Y-O-U apostrophe R-E.
Mhm.
Yes, both times.
Yeah, that's one of the worst. Yeah. Do you know what one of my least favorite ones is? And this is not AI, this is human
Mhm.
error, is when people will put then when they mean than.
Yeah.
That one drives me nuts. But I guess I'm a little elitist.
This one
I'm
already,
okay.
Cyntia already said, but cows, please close gate.
This one's a
Kids with
visual.
gas.
It's all written the same.
Wait a minute. It says cows, please close gate.
Close gate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is
They're
there any
asking the cows.
punctuation in this?
No.
No.
Absolutely
No.
zero. No, like
I mean-
cows, please close gate.
Well, cows, comma, please close gate would make it sound like you're still telling the cows to close the gate.
Yeah, but like no
Like if you
exclamation
did
point,
cows,
pause,
exclamation point, cows, please close gate.
Taking that out for a second. Actually, whenever we still lived in East Texas, whenever he was a kid, his mom sometimes did struggle to get them to school because the neighbors' cows would get onto their driveway.
That's so fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kids with gas eat free.
Wait a minute. What do we think that meant? Kids with gas, please wait. Eat
I don't
free.
know.
If they
I
purchase
still don't
gas,
know.
maybe?
It literally says kids with gas enter, eat free.
So is it like a gas station where if you get gas,
Yeah, it's a gas
kids eat
station.
free?
Yeah, it's got to be that, but it just says kids with gas eat free.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no nothing else.
Okay.
I feel like we should also point out we were crying while searching for these.
Yeah.
We thought they were.
There's some pretty good ones. Yeah.
Okay. Caution: hot children 10 and under need adult supervision.
Oh, this is this one.
Okay, I got nothing on that.
This one is just a road, and it says "sot" instead of "stop." Stop.
You know what's funny is how funny you find that, because that's dumb.
It is. They're so dumb. It's just.
Phone out of service. Give us a call.
Hold on. There's a really good one on here that I feel is going to be slept on. Hey, Sarah, you're definitely going to need to edit that because Lorie was really high pitched. Hold on. This one's really good. Clorox bleach, assorted flavors.
You shouldn't eat bleach.
I love how that's Lorie's wheezing exclamation.
Oh my god! I'm so glad I didn't look at these ahead of time.
Yeah, we didn't show them on purpose because we wanted you guys to.
What's next? You can stop
This one-
recording. Let's just do this for me.
This one says, "Please slow drively."
Bad. Next.
And then this one's one of my favorites. It's a windy sign, and it says, "We do got fish."
Like, yeah, no, not what I understand.
We do got fish. Hey, you got fish? Yeah, we do got fish.
Oh my god. There's a few more on here that are y'all gonna do the violators will be towed and fined $50? By the way, fined FIND. Like you're gonna locate
You're gonna
$50.
find, yeah.
Is it Toad TOAD? I thought I saw y'all.
No,
post.
unfortunately not that one. That towed is correct,
Oh.
but you get towed
Oh.
and you're gonna get $50. So
They can find you.
This one's a yard sign, and it says, "Thank you for severing our country."
Thank you for severing our country.
This next one made Sarah cry so hard she threw the tissue. I think it's this one. Shower will be shit down on until repairs are finished due to a leak under the tub, and due is D.
No, I'm sorry. Everybody be quiet. Sam, start over. Don't laugh. I got to hear this whole thing. Nobody laugh.
the accent didn't help on this one.
Shower will be shit down until repairs are finished due DO to a leak under the tub.
Okay.
This
Oh my
one's
God.
a fan. This one's like a work van, and it says open 7 days a week and Sundays.
Wait. It says open 7 days a week and Sundays.
Yes,
And it's a
With a lot of
van.
exclamation points.
It's a van.
like a work van.
Oh my God. And then this next one is a Popeyes sign. Jalapenos chicken pooper favorite tuna.
Stop laughing while you're saying it. I can't hear it.
Okay, jalapenos chicken poopers 8 for $2.99.
I need to see this one.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay, Lorie.
Yeah.
There's a garage sale sign. Estate sale. Can you tell me how estate is spelled?
Oh my God.
A?
Space state sale.
Oh, wow.
Not a state, a state.
Wow.
This one's my personal favorite. It is a cake bought from a supermarket with a football on it, on a football like yard, and it just says Super Bowel.
This is not good.
We
Why
have
did
two
we do
more,
this?
and this one is also my favorite. And then I think the last one is one of Sarah's favorite because I think that one also made her cry. But this is a homemade sign like you see like on the side of the road, and it says homemade apple butter. Ho space made.
She did what?
Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
All right,
You
and
know,
the last one.
The best apple butter is made by hose. That's all I have to say.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Last
god.
one. Last one. All right, go out with the bang, Sarah.
Last one. Last one is a motel sign, and it says motel vacancy. Great rats.
Wow, that's good.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, while robots are not ready to replace us, there's still a lot of work to be done on the human side of things. Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.